Hi guys, my name is Bart Kamski and this is my devlog about stealth game I'm developing, and this game is pretty much like this. You have to avoid guards because they can spot you and you lose. So for the past few days I didn't do much. I mean, I did a lot, but I cannot show you anything because it's not visible. But what I was trying to do is I tried to make this system for detecting the character by the enemy and the system of field of view cone, this green cone you see here. So basically I'm using line traces to I can even show you. Oh. Yes, I'm using line traces to line trace the map and draw the cone according to it, where it hits and so on. But the detecting system is a different system than this, because this system is only drawing the cone. I am using procedural mesh for it, but I'm sorry. But I have different systems for detecting the player. So I was trying to use. I had also. I had system with first I check if the enemy was inside if the character was inside the sphere. So I check if it was overlapping the sphere. Then I check if the characters were inside the cone. So I check the rotation because I already have the rotation of the cone. So I use the rotation to check if the rotation is basically if the character is inside the cone. But that was pretty buggy and it didn't work well, and I had to check a lot of different stuff, if it's overlapping, if it's inside, if it's actually the character, if it's enemy. And another thing is that I also need to detect different enemy by the enemy. So but only if enemy is dead. So I need to check if it's character or enemy. If it's character, alarm went off, and if it's enemy and it's dead, alarm also went off. But I have issues that I have also an character and then enemy, and the characters bringing enemy inside the cone, and I had overlap events. So when I entered the cone, there was overlap event enter, but sometimes the enemy was entering the cone, he was alive, and then I killed him. So it was dead enemy then. Game dev is really hard. Kids, don't try this at home, really. But I tried a different thing. I tried the EQS, which I probably still have somewhere here. Yes, here is my pawn. Can I see him here? Oh, why I can't see him here? That's weird. Oh yeah, I need to put this thing here, right? Yeah. So this is and I need to. Sorry, guys. And I need to check to update on every. Yeah, here. So when I'm moving, I can update. So this is the EQS thing. That's the component you can attach to your character. It is, Unreal Engine default component. So I thought it would be lighter and more efficient to use, but unfortunately, I cannot rotate it because my cone is rotating. I can only rotate character. But I wasn't able to rotate this EQS. And actually, when I did some tests, it wasn't so much more efficient than line traces, so I just stick with line traces. But oh, I don't want to do any harm. Whoa. Okay, but another thing was, so I stick with the line traces to draw the cone, but I wanted to have a better way to detect the player. So first thing was that I had a problem because when he detected the player, he was just skipping to its point, and I want to do it to fluently, add some animations and so on, and that was unfortunately in this system impossible. So another thing I try to do is wait a second, I can maybe build a mesh, because there is no cone overlap box, but there is cone mesh, and I also can overlap it. So I built the mesh, and I'm gonna show it. It looks like this, but I also had to build, because this cone it has a flat surface at the bottom, so I need to add another thing here. So my enemies had this thing right here, and I thought I could use this to detect character. But it also had another issues, especially at the edge of the end. There are two meshes actually, so it's not very easy and nice way to do it, and I also had issues with that. And then I thought, wait a second, I already have a mesh, my procedural mesh, which is this green cone, and I can use it for detecting the oh yeah, with the cone thing, my problem was that my cone thing is going beyond the wall, and it's still detecting character. So I still had to have something, line trace or whatever, to detect the wall between me and the enemy. So I resign. I leave this idea. But then I thought about the actual procedural mesh, to use it to detect. So character could overlap this procedural mesh, and as you can see, it is only drawing there when there is when enemy directly can see the player. But there was another thing with that I'm destroying this mesh on every frame and building another one, because it needs to detect, because the enemy is moving, and it needs to detect the walls on its way. So it needs to, and every frame it is moving, so I need to remove this mesh and build another one. And when there's the enemy not moving and I build a mesh around it, it doesn't give back character is overlapping the mesh. Only when the character is moving inside the procedural mesh, it gives back that event, overlapping event. So I thought I could maybe attach some moving part to the character. So even when character is staying at place, the box on it it's moving. But it has another issues, that it was flickering when the character was at the edge, because it was sometimes detecting, sometimes not detecting. So at the end, I thought I can just go back to line traces, and I build another system, line traces, that I have one system for line traces that are creating this procedural mesh, and another system for line traces that are detecting the character. So I can show you, and it doesn't work with it isn't many line traces in one frame. I'm not using for each loop. On every frame I am detecting different part of the, I can show you. As you can see, there is much less density of these line traces, and every tick it goes different angle, and I reset it, you can see it. The best way is to see it right here. Yeah, it just swipes the field of view, but it has another issues that sometimes it's not detecting at exactly the time I need it to detect, and I had another issues that I had to detect the player, but this line trace, but I didn't want to detect the wall, so I had to put physics material on every wall and every element on the scene that is not character, and I'm checking it, the surface type, and if the surface type is obstacle, it doesn't react, so it doesn't give back that is overlapping the character. So, and yeah, and I still need to check the enemy character if it's dead, so it needs to also turn on the alarm when it detects the dead enemy. But I had one more issue with that. Yeah, I still have a problem. Oh yeah, I need to have this when I select the enemy, it changes from like normal arrow to knife, so I can kill him or maybe pick up when he's already dead. So this and I need it not on the character. Not on the character, what's the name, capsule component, but on the mesh itself. So the mesh needs to have needs to overlap camera, needs to block camera, so it can be seen by my cursor. But then my line traces, yeah, it is also set up to camera. But because if I set up my line traces to visibility, wait a second, no, it's something. No, but yeah, I had to do it. This has to be camera, and another one has to be, this one has to be visibility, because if I change it to camera, it will detect my character like this. So my character will leave blind spots in the procedural mesh. So this has to be visibility, but then this has to be something different to detect enemy. Even when I'm talking about it now, it's confusing, and I spent like last 3 days, and it's these overlapping events. You have to choose the different type of pawn, word static, word dynamic, vehicle, destructible. You can create your own in the project settings, I believe, and there are free. You can ignore, overlap, block. There is also, if you choose which object type you want to overlap or block or ignore, you also can choose which this object type is, and you also have different types of collision, because there's physics and query, or both, or none, and and there is also camera trace. Trace responses, so visibility or camera. Oh my god, I'm slowly getting mad. Sorry guys for sharing this, but I just had to throw it up because that was the thing I was working for the last 3 days, and I didn't do much progress, but at least I have some things. I know some more things about it, and one more thing I can tell. Like now, I'm sending the line traces from the bottom of the character, so from right here, and it is okay. But before that, I did it from the middle of it, so I could detect the enemy, but I couldn't detect that enemy, because that enemy was lying on the ground and it was below the line traces. So that was another thing. That was what's going on. I spent like 2 hours. Why this is not working? Because live enemy is working, that enemy is not working because his body is below the line traces. So I move line traces down, and it was working. So yeah, that's the pretty rough thing. I'm also thinking if I make this work and it's gonna be efficient, it's gonna work without bugs, and I will know this like 100% because I'm still getting know this system I'm building, so I maybe put it on marketplace. So thanks guys for watching, thanks guys for listening to me. And I didn't do much. I mean, I don't have any much to show you this time, but I did a lot of work, like behind the scenes work, and this is most important thing in game dev. Thanks again for watching, and if you like this, please subscribe to my channel, and see you next time. Cheers.